French President Emmanuel Macron is ending this week's Asia trip with a stop-off in Singapore later. In the meantime, we can show you images of him while he's been in Indonesia, but he's due to later move on to Singapore to speak at the annual Shangri-La Dialogue, which is Asia's top defence conference. Macron set to present France and Europe as defenders of international cooperation and rules-based trade at a time when other world powers, such as the US under President Donald Trump and China, use more coercive or predatory methods. That's words used by the Elysee. Well, let's speak to our correspondent, Patrick Fok, who joins us now. Patrick, what then is Macron hoping to achieve, if you like, in Singapore?
Well, so this is all part of a broader strategy on how France engages with Southeast Asia as a region. This is the third and final stop of this tour, following visits to Indonesia and Vietnam, as we know. And Singapore is an important stop of it. It's a small nation, but it's also an influential power, and arguably itself plays a sort of balancing force between the US and China within the region. And President Macron is expected to once again tout France and Europe as an alternative security and economic partner for the region amid these heightened tensions between Beijing and Washington. And that is something that Southeast Asia has been particularly concerned about. ASEAN member states have repeatedly said that they don't want to be forced to choose sides. So in many ways, this is really the perfect opportunity for President Macron to come and develop France's influence in the region, you might say, particularly following the upheaval caused by President Trump's tariffs. He is expected, no doubt, to emphasize that France and Europe still very much back the international trade-based order. And look, this is also going to be about deals. We've heard about deals that have been signed in Vietnam, $11 billion worth of deals in Indonesia as well. And we're expecting more of that in Singapore. We're still waiting to see how that's going to fold, what that's going to entail exactly. But as we know, defense has been a focus in Indonesia. That's expected to be on the cards in Singapore as well. We know that deals were inked that could see Indonesia buy more jets from France, as well as submarines and frigates as well. And as it's been said before, this is a significant development because it is a potential shift for Indonesia, one where in the past we've seen Jakarta really rely on Russia for defense equipment. So there's a sort of shift in strategy in terms of procurement. Whether or not we're likely to see in Singapore remains to be seen. But, it is certainly something that we are going to be keeping a close eye on.
Let's flip it over now, Patrick. How significant is the visit, if you like, for Singapore?
Yeah, it's an interesting point because Singapore has been outspoken once again, following this backlash from President Trump's tariffs, and Singapore's Prime Minister has talked about how this is really going to shake up the global order, and this is a real new world that we're entering right now. So what Singapore really wants is stability, and if France can be a force that brings that to the table, President Macron's visit is certainly welcome. And this is also being underscored by this opening address at the Shangri-La Dialogue. As you mentioned, it's Asia's premier defense forum. It's the first time that a European leader is giving this opening address, and that is perhaps a nod to France's Indo-Pacific strategy. But, the region is still very important for France as well. As we know, France has got 7 territories within the Indo-Pacific. There are 2 million French nationals living within the region, and these lands, these territories, also have resource-rich exclusive economic zones. So there's a reason for President Macron there to ensure the protection of these different areas. And, the bigger picture really is that France has got a role to play in the security of the Indo-Pacific. And, we are potentially likely to see France play a greater role in the region in the future.
Patrick, thanks so much. Patrick Fok, correspondent, talking to us there from Hong Kong.